Hello, found footage fans, and welcome to We Found a Tape. We're a podcast dedicated to all things found footage. Shaky cams, paranormal sightings, and everything with an authentic edge to make it all feel real. My name's John,
And I'm David.
and join us as we hit play and uncover what lies beyond the tape. Welcome everyone to another episode of We Found a Tape, and today we're talking about arguably one of the greatest modern found footage films that's ever come out, and that is HELL HOUSE LLC from 2015.
The greatest.
The greatest, yeah. I mean, when we announced we were doing this episode, a lot of people reached out and said that they were excited for this one, so we're excited to talk about it because if you saw our list when we first posted what kind of found footage movies that we both like, you'll see that HELL HOUSE LLC had a comfortable spot on both of our lists, and I think it's fair to say that it's made a spot on many people's favourite found footage list, and for some people their favourite horror movie, genuinely, because it's a scary one.
Yeah, it definitely scared the crap out of me, man. Of course, I went a different way the first time that I saw this, knee deep in the devil's lettuce. That's going to intensify your senses, when you're watching any kind of movie. And it did not disappoint with this one. And, even watching it without that, second, third, 10th, 30th time, this movie still scares me every time because there's so many elements to it, from, a haunted house, things going on in the background, the clowns. Oh my God, the clowns. Yeah, there's just so many scary things going on in this movie, and I love this entire ride.
Yes, it really was the gift that keeps on giving. In terms of scares, in terms of practicality, in terms of the filming techniques, in terms of the story, like I really loved everything about this.
There's so many great things about this movie, but before we dive into it, let's hit him with that synopsis.
I thought you'd never ask, David. HELL HOUSE LLC from 2015 follows a documentary crew investigating a haunted house attraction where a mysterious disaster left multiple people dead. Uncovered footage reveals the terrifying truth behind the tragedy and the sinister forces at work.
That's terrifying, just hearing that.
That's awesome. But yeah, HELL HOUSE, it follows... It starts with some interviews. They're interviewing people that are related to a case that has occurred, who were either there, investigating officers, photographers, people who are just well aware of the situation that happened, where there was an incident in 2009 in the story at the old Abaddon Hotel in there is upstate New York, but it was actually filmed in Layton, Pennsylvania, for those that didn't know that. And they mentioned there was a severe malfunction, and that's where the story starts. And we then are introduced to Sarah, who is a member of the HELL HOUSE LLC group, who was able to get away from the scenes that day, and she provides the documentary crew with tapes from the time that they were in the Abaddon Hotel.
They jump right into it. They start talking about, like you mentioned, they were interviewing all these people, even some of the people that were there to witness outside, people coming out screaming and things like that. So it was a crazy start to the movie, because it's kind of like, reflecting on what's already happened. And then they cut to, the start of all the friends that are starting this haunted attraction at the Abaddon Hotel. They get there, they're scouting it out, checking out the place. Once they get the electricity going, they move in, and that's where things start to get real interesting.
Yeah, that's where shit starts to hit the fan. The main crew we have is Alex, we have Sarah, they are a couple, Matt, who is Alex's best friend, we have Paul, who is the majority cameraman, and Tony, he's the Mr. Fix-It guy. He's the one that sets up the electricity, he sets up the security cameras, he's setting up all the, all the gags for the haunted house attraction.
He's the machine.
He is the machine. He's the machine that keeps everything running. He's the one that has a level head throughout the whole thing, right until just before the incident happens.
I don't think anybody could keep a level head with that kind of shenanigans going on. Cause
yeah,
oh,
it just escalates. It starts with witty banter between the group. They're always talking about Queens. They talk about their old haunts and their old memories. Like, that's how much it starts, and it really builds that camaraderie. It builds that bond between all of them, that they have gone through it all before. This isn't their first rodeo. It seems like they're all sort of familiar with each other, but there's always just something there, especially with Alex. There's something there that isn't quite right, whether that is some sort of supernatural deal that he's made, or some sort of debt that he's got the group into that's sort of detrimental, that he ultimately has to sell everything, including his soul.
Dude, that you kind of just blew my mind with that. I never even thought about that. As many times as I've seen this movie, it never would have dawned on me that that's a possibility, because you're right. If you were to stop and look back at him, the way that his demeanor was to a lot of things, like, he was just so focused on this night happening. People disappeared and things like that throughout the whole process, and this guy was just so focused on opening night, like, no matter what.
Right, yeah, he definitely was the driving force to get everyone from setting this thing up to get them to opening night, and everyone to stay around and ensure that they're there, which is quite interesting when you're in the outside looking in, and after you've seen this a few times. At first you would just sort of see it as he's just truly passionate about this, or like this, he's got a lot riding on this, but as you sort of see it, and it goes into this more in the sequels, or sequel,
Right.
Where you start to find out more about Andrew Tully, who is the old owner of the Abaddon Hotel. Even Abaddon, the itself, has like a biblical type meaning towards it. Abaddon is like the lake of fire, I believe, is how they refer to it as in the later ones. But it's definitely has that sort of religious connotation to it, and the Satanism and those sort of satanic themes that are throughout, with all the imagery down in the basement. Like, that fucking place is hell itself, man. Like, I was terrified just with them going down. I wouldn't even be able to fucking breathe properly if it was me going down there. I'd be so full of anxiety.
We were talking about this previously, that picture that they take of the basement is just unsettling, because what was it, the camera crew that went down there that were doing the documentary or whatever it is about the whole incident, they actually went into the house and they took a picture down in the basement because they didn't even want to go down there, and that's just looking down that stairway is just so creepy, man. It just gives you the heebie-jeebies just looking at it. I don't blame him, man. If I felt that kind of energy, just looking down a stairway, you couldn't pay me enough to go down it. All the Doritos in the world wouldn't get me. Not even all the cheese in the world would get me to go down those stairs.
No, not even all the carne asada in the world would make you go down there.
There's no amount of tacos that can motivate me to do that.
There's so many pictures of like the basement where you see like the silhouette of the clown down there, and that it's just, oh my god, the clowns are just, it's like every fear sort of rolled into one, like the whole paranormal aspect, being involved in that, being stuck in a creepy ass basement, the clowns, they are just perfectly made. Like, I don't know if it was intentional to make them that scary or not, but whoever did that did one hell of a job.
Dude, those clowns, man. Um, I don't have like a phobia of clowns, but I definitely have a fear of them. And oh my God, dude, those clowns. I mean, and we'll get into it as we get here, the different scenes with the clowns and stuff. But man, those clowns, dude. Yeah, scary, scary stuff. You had mentioned that this was an actual place that they filmed at, and you mentioned that there's some history to it as well. You want to give us a little context on that?
For sure, yeah. The movie itself, it was shot at a place called the Waldorf Estate of Fear, which is a Halloween attraction that operates on a yearly basis. A lot of the props and stuff for the movie that you see is all props that they use for their haunted attraction, you know. But according to sources, the Waldorf Estate of Fear has its own sort of paranormal issues. And according to the research that I did, apparently during some of the scenes that the actors were, down in the basement or down in certain rooms, they would have like an uneasy feeling. They would, feel a presence there, and it wasn't anything like, this is just to sell the film. It sounds like it's legit. And
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of videos about the Waldorf estate, just them walking through it, talking about the different things that have happened, and yeah, it was it was wild. I mean, what a place! Like, imagine coming across that just from location scouting. Like, imagine running across that. It's in like the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania, and now that Hell House is such a big success, they actually do things like nights there where they'll like show the movie, and you can go and like take a tour. Then they'll have like small little like vendors and markets and stuff there. Like, it's really done a whole lot of good for that particular attraction, and probably for the town as well. I mean, that's probably really awesome to see like a busy lineup every
Yeah.
year. And I've been tempted to go.
Dude, I don't know, man. I would love to go to haunted places, but yeah, definitely not by myself. But yeah, man, I'd be down to go and check it out. But I think if people that have seen this movie multiple times, and if you're a fan of the movie, listening to this, and you've never known that this place exists, I would think that once you go out and do a little bit of research on it, or just by the information that John has given you, that adds a lot more creep factor to the movie to you, because uh, filming at a haunted place, that kind of creeps me out.
Yeah,
It just makes it that more scary.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it would. It puts you more. I guess you would see yourself more as at risk of demonic possession, or being attacked by a ghost.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the unknown is really what is the scary part, and what you can't fully see, and your eyes can play tricks on you from certain things. So it's definitely an interesting feeling, I would imagine. I don't think I've been to too many haunted places that are confirmed haunted, or like anything like that. So I don't have too much experience, but I can imagine like the feeling of like cold spots, and the feeling of like being watched is very uneasy.
Right.
It's not a comfortable feeling, that's for sure.
Yeah. And just to touch on it briefly, I know I've told you about this in the past, but as a young kid, you know, my family on my dad's side has experienced certain things, because my where I lived with my dad at the time when I was younger, we were right next door to a cemetery. Like, right on the other side of the fence is a cemetery. Some of those graves go back like to the very late 1800s. But living in that house, I do recall, there not cases, but there were situations where if I were to go to the bathroom in the far back of the house along the fence line, you're there just doing your thing, and the window's open, right? And you could hear this conversation going on between two people, but it was loud enough to where you knew there was a conversation going on between two people, and then you couldn't make it out because it just wasn't loud enough to make any context out of it. My dad, he experienced things with seeing people walk outside the window in the front living room. I swear, my dad, he liked to fuck with people, right? He liked to make up things every now and then just to push people's buttons and things like that. But he swore that he wasn't bullshitting when he told me that there was one time where he was asleep at night in his bed and somebody was pulling on the bottom of the covers. And he basically in Spanish said, "Motherfucker, leave me alone, get the fuck out of here," basically. I won't go into details because, we don't want to get all bilingual here, but basically that's what he said, and they let go of the covers, and that was it. And that was like one of the few things that he experienced. But usually it's like somebody walking by the window or, conversations outside, but nothing to where that happened. That was probably the only thing that I ever heard that happened where it was actual physical, the tugging of the blankets. But, when you see movies like this and you've had experiences, paranormal experiences, that's another fear that, comes into play because this movie hits things like that, fear of clowns, fear of, being in a haunted place, past experiences, things like that. So, that this movie really tugged at a lot of fears and and dare I say phobias,
Yeah, no, totally. It definitely struck a few nerves, that's for sure. And it
Oh,
hit
yeah.
them all right in the head, like it made for a very unsettling time, especially first time watching it, when you don't really know what's happening. And also a lot of the things that were done in the movie were all practical. So practical effects, practical gags, practical makeup, that sort of thing. Particularly the one scene that everyone like really gravitates towards is when Paul is going around with the camera, and he stumbles across the clown standing there, again,
Yes.
like the entrance to the basement, and then he looks away and he sees Mac, and then he turns back, and then the clown's facing him. So apparently, for that they use like wire, and there wasn't actually anyone in the suit. Turns away, and then he comes back, and then it's looking at him, and it's because they shifted the mask. My thought was like, if it was me in that scenario, I probably would have like pushed the guy. Like if I thought someone was pranking me, and especially if you get freaked out a little bit, I'd probably like a friendly sort of nudge, like, "You fucker, you got me." He doesn't do that. He walks away, and then he thinks it's Tony, and Tony's standing there talking to Mag, and he's like, "What the fuck?" Poor Paul. Paul really gets a brunt of a lot of these because he's the one that he's stuck in the strobe when that all happens, and he's like, "How many freaks are in here?" And he's like, "It's 4." And then there's a 5th one just pop out,
Yeah.
with a weird skull mask.
That's the one that got me, dude, because
Yeah,
I
that
was
creepy.
I was tripping out on the movie, and when they got to this part, it was moving, and that's probably the scare. Well, it's one of the scariest ones. The second one, we'll get to it, but yeah, that one definitely terrified me, dude, because you're in there by yourself in the strobes, and something's moving, and everybody's where they're at, and just no. And going back to the clown turning his face, you and I would have reacted very differently because I would have checked that fucking clown. I would have slapped him just to see, if it was an actual person. I would have slapped the shit out of him if that clown reacted. I haven't ran since 1998, but I will make a run.
That's so good. Yeah, no, it was so well done. And when you were mentioning there about how your dad, told the ghost to fuck off, basically.
Yeah,
We see Paul when he's in his bed, and he's, looking out and sees the creepy girl like sitting on the floor, cuts all over
that's
her face.
that's the other one.
Yeah, that freaked me out.
It led up to that night because the first night, he was talking to the camera, kind of just documenting the day, what had happened, and then you could see the silhouette of the person in the background, and
Hair
he thought
everywhere.
he thought it was somebody hey dude, you okay? And nothing, no response. They just walked away, and he's like,
Yeah, he thought it was Sarah.
yeah,
Um,
he thought, yeah,
and really, like you don't see Mac, you don't see Tony getting, even Alex. You don't see Alex getting a lot of shit. It's Paul and it's Sarah. That's one thing I noticed. This time around, really looking at it through a different lens. Really, it's Paul and Sarah are the ones that get the brunt of it. We find out when they're making the promo commercial for the haunt. She's standing there in front of the gravestones, and she's talking to the gravestone. She's talking to the wall and sort of mumbling in tongues, and then Paul's the one that's getting these sort of apparitions coming towards them every
right.
time. They seem to be getting closer and closer every time, until finally he goes catatonic.
And now that you say that, dude, it kind of like goes back to that theory that you had of terrible with names. Alex, may have made some kind of deal or something like that, because he was taking it all very well. He kind of just blew it off when, he was just kind of like, oh, it's just something he does, typical.
Yeah. Yeah, when Paul was missing, the first thing Alex does is freak out, and he's like, "Fucking fuck this guy." Does it? He'd done it before. He's going to do it again. He's always going to do it. He's unreliable. And then Tony's like, "Well, has anyone called him?" And they both, Mac and Alex, look at each other, and they're just like, "No." It's such a guy thing. There was the big shriek that comes through the phone, which would have freaked me
Yeah.
out.
Yes.
That would have freaked me the fuck out. I'd have been like, "Whoa, okay, Paul is not okay. This isn't like
Paul,
a joke."
Paul ain't coming back, okay? And we're not going to go look for him with that kind of yell going on.
Exactly, and also as well, like I'm just sort of piecing this together now that, Paul and Sarah are the ones that get the brunt of it, and in the end, really, Sarah is attacked by Paul. Paul is the one
Yes.
that attacks Sarah, and then she's dragged off, to be with the covered druids, as you may call them, with like a knife or something like that. And then he cuts his own throat. And one thing I noted down, and this actually like really unsettled me, is when and it was done very well, to his credit, when he does that and he drops to the floor and he's sort of sliding down the wall, he starts to like cough, like this like creepy like guttural cough, because he's fucking slashed his neck open, and he's
Yeah.
like coughing, and it's like
I mean, he's basically drowning in his own
yeah,
liquids.
yeah, and that's how it sounded, and that's how it came across, and yeah, that was really quite unsettling, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Dude, this whole movie was unsettling. And then on top of all that, we get to opening night, Um, everybody's in line outside. They're getting everything ready. They got the girl downstairs, the actress that they got for the final part of the attraction, chained up downstairs, and they're letting all these people in. And not even a few minutes of everybody in the first group of people that make it to the basement, and they just see the horror that's unfolding down there. And you get the camera shot down there of what's going on, and it's weird. It's like there's this like almost like a portal in the background, and then there's these hooded figures, and this woman is screaming for dear life that it's not part of the show. And these people don't know what to think, because they're there for the attraction. They don't know if it's part of the show, it's not part of the show. Some of them are 50-50. Some of the women are freaking out, some of the dudes are it's part of the show. And then some um it gets very crazy, man. And as soon as they go after the woman, that's when they know that it's real, and everybody starts screaming and trying to get out of the basement, and people are dying. And the camera crew up top, the Hell House guys, they're trying to get down there to see what's going on. And man, all the shit that unfolds, jeez.
And they hire the guy, which again, another things that are now looking back at it is quite funny, but they find the guy at the gas station, Joey, who they get in one of the clown suits to sit downstairs and keep an eye on the actress. And you notice he does the thing with his eye where he pops his eye out. He was the eyes downstairs,
Right.
and he was like popping his eye out and shit, like the trick that he does.
saw that. I remember that. Yeah.
Right? And he is the eye downstairs.
Right.
That's fucking funny. And then he obviously runs out and they lose their eyes. It's quite funny. Yeah, it's very smart. It's a very smart movie. Everything I feel like is all called out and it's sort of left there for you to interpret if you really want to dive into it. But on the surface, it's an enjoyable, it's a scary, it's an unsettling movie, and it's positioned in a manner that it's, a documentary style and done incredibly well. You would have thought this was a true crime case. The way that it was done with the interviews at the start and the attention to detail with the pictures and the crime scene photos and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, the big reveal, we find that Sarah has been conducting this interview, but the whole time she has not been alive, and
she's not of this world.
We spoke about this earlier as well, David, and you mentioned a very, very good point. After the events of Hell House and the situation everyone ended up in, everyone ultimately from Hell House died. Because they've died in the house, or they've died as part of some ritual, they are now essentially bonded to the house, and they're bonded to the Abaddon. You mentioned that they were now like a sort of servant to the Abaddon and bringing people in, which I thought perfectly rounds out the end to the movie. Like, the purpose is to bring not only the crew there, but potentially the audience as well. People that see this, I think, it's quite an interesting ending when you really analyze it like that.
Yeah,
everyone's sort of working for Andrew Tully at that point, as we find out, on the ongoing sequels, which I enjoy as a franchise. For me personally, the first one is by far superior to the rest.
Right.
But I've a bit of a soft spot for the third one. I really quite enjoyed it. I liked the premise. I liked the way that they were repurposing the Abaddon and turning Hell House into this theater performance. Like, I actually quite enjoyed that. I thought it was quite well done, and I mean, it kicks it up to another level. Second one, I would say, is probably my least favorite, but by all means, I still watch it and I find stuff that I do enjoy throughout it.
The second and the third one don't quite hit as hard as the first one, and it's very, very rare that you're going to find movies that come out equally as good or better in sequels. But this story is so good that I'm one of those people that I need if it's a good story, I can't get enough of it. And if they can keep it going and it's a good story, I'm all for it. And in all the sequels, even the Carmichael tapes, they give some kind of an origin story a bit to do that. That one was a good one. The clowns were just as creepy in that one as well. But I love the entire franchise, dude. Like, even if the other ones don't stand as tall as the first one, they add to the story and they add to the lore of the Abaddon Hotel, Andrew Tully, everything. And I can't get enough of it. And as we're sitting here talking about it, I believe late October we're getting the next Hell House movie, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. Yeah, the new Hell House is in October. Hell House Lineage.
Lineage, yeah.
Yeah. From what I've heard, from what people have been saying, it doesn't appear to be found footage, which I believe is an interesting call, considering that that's the sort of core medium for telling these stories is through social media posts or news coverage or a documentary that's being filmed. So that'll be interesting to see if that is how the story is going to be. It'll be interesting to see what happens and sort of what it adds to the finale of Hell House.
Yeah, I'm here for it, man. Even if it's not found footage style, I need to round out the story. I need to finish the story. I need to have my Cody Rhodes moment right now.
Yeah, we need to finish the story. Hell yeah. Speaking of Cody Rhodes, Cody Rhodes likes to wear a waistcoat for a good amount of time, and one thing I also noticed about this movie was that in order to, I guess, dress up for the occasion, Alex decides to wear a waistcoat and t-shirt combo, which I thought was an interesting attire choice for the occasion. But he buttons that thing up, and he's got like a band t-shirt and a pair of jeans on. So he was
He's all business, but he's here to party.
hell yeah. I don't know if that was maybe like a style in for the time period 2009.
I mean, it
or
very well could have
or
been. I
whatnot.
mean, I still think there's a few people out there that still probably sport that. Um, I don't think it's totally a dead fashion, but times change, and sometimes we revert back to, retro fashion and things like that. So, I mean, we could go either way with that. We could debate that here all day.
Absolutely. But yeah, no, it was phenomenal. I mean, nothing short of incredible was done. I think it's going to have a long lasting impact. People are still obviously interested in it, and people are still obviously talking about it. So I think
Yeah.
it really is a true testament to this movie. And in terms of if you've never seen this before, there's plenty of places for you to go and see it, particularly on Shudder and Tubi and on Found TV. So do yourself a favor if you haven't seen this, is check it out. It's going to be a fantastic experience for you.
Yes, I really hope you enjoy the ride with it if you're a first-time watcher. The good thing about this is that the movie's so good, you're going to want to watch it more than once. And every time you watch it, even to this day, I've seen it 30 times, maybe more, and I always find something. I was telling John the other day in the scene where they find Paul when he's gone, when the entity has taken him, they're looking at his bed. There's like I can't tell if it's paint or not, but there's a streak of blood on the wall, like a finger streak, and I'd never seen that before. So that was like, something eye-catching. And I've seen this movie a gazillion times. So it's always nice to go back and watch good movies like this because you tend to see things that maybe you've forgotten about or that you just totally missed. There's nice little surprises here and there.
Like I said, it's the gift that keeps on giving, and
Yeah.
really the more and more you watch it, I feel like you grow a fonder appreciation for it in terms of the style, in terms of the the scares, the creep factor. Like it's really unsettling, and it's you kind of form a deep connection with the characters. I feel like I did. Like one of the most quotable things for me are two moments that happened in this movie specifically. One of them is when Mac is talking about the guy from Jersey that worked at the Haunting Queens. And he's like, "Welcome to Lucifer's cabin." That for me, like I'll say that like a good amount of times. And the other is when Paul is playing at the piano and singing with Hector. He's like, "I'm
Oh, yeah.
writing a letter to Daddy."
That's a
That
classic one, man.
the music is so unsettling, like throughout,
Yes.
like truly, and the riff or the piano tune that they end up playing throughout the do 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 do, that is prominent throughout, and it's just very creepy and unsettling. It's so simple yet so effective.
Yes. That oh that just gave me chills
Gives you
the minute
chills,
you just
right? When
started.
you just hear it,
Yeah.
like just someone says it, and you're kind of like, "Whoa, why are you doing Hell House?" But yeah, it's
Oh
got a
man.
long-lasting effect. I think it's gonna, be in the history of not only found footage movies, but horror movies in general. I think it deserves a place at the table with some of the most iconic movies that have been around. So, for me, it definitely sits up there with the likes of Blair Witch and Paranormal Activity. Like I feel very strongly about that, and because of that, I think in terms of rating this thing, I think we might have another golden tape on our hands, David.
I could not agree with you more, man. This one is going to definitely get my second golden tape. I hands down. This movie, touched all the creep factors, things like that, and you get a bond with this movie, because you get so invested with it, with the characters, the storyline. I mean, it just goes on and on. This movie, like you said, is the gift that keeps on giving, and I can't say anything bad about this movie, or anything that I would be critical of or give any kind of like feedback on. Everything was just so well done.
You know, it sparked 5 other movies. Like,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
just goes to show like the impact that it's made, and you know the fan base is definitely there and apparent for it. So yeah, no, it definitely deserves a seat at the table for sure.
I would be curious to ask the director one day, you know, if he intended just to make one movie.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's something that we should manifest, David, and we'll get that opportunity.
Let
And
me get my Rolodex.
you know, it came out in 2015, so this is the 10th anniversary this year that it
Wow,
came
10
out. So
years.
yeah, 10 years of Hell House, and there's been 6 films, so this is the sixth, um, or the fifth, five
The fifth.
films.
Yeah, the fifth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
five
it's gonna
films.
be
I
a fifth.
can't count. Yeah, five films, man. Like in 10 years is amazing. So yeah, it deserves all the success, deserves all the congratulations, and I can't wait to see how it ends. But yeah, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for taking the time to listen. If you don't already, be sure to follow us on Instagram and wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that is Spotify, Amazon, or Apple. We're also available on YouTube and all at We Found a Tape.
Everyone have a wonderful night. Don't forget, be kind and rewind.